All right, it's time for the Low Fact Podcast.
Woohoo!
So let's get into it. Didn't you have something? Wasn't something bugging you, or you want to talk about something?
It's something I think we may have talked about it before on the podcast, but it's this notion of people that come here and then kind of slate America. So people that move here and then it seems like, and I kind of am guilty of this when I first came to America, of sitting there and kind of criticizing America, and I observe that there's a lot of people from outside the United States that have just come here. There's a lot of Europeans, a lot of Australians, a lot of New Zealanders, South Africans, you name it.
Are these all countries that fail to integrate their immigrants? Now, don't get me wrong. I guess that's a loaded question because I believe that my country, America, is starting to fail in integrating their immigrants.
I mean, I know New Zealand has definitely had issues with integration of immigrants.
Because, a lot of countries out there that aren't America really have a failure of integrating their immigrants, like Sweden. Oh, they suck at integrating their immigrants.
Well, yeah, and like Norway as well, right?
Well, they're right next to each other, so I would think that, you know, and they used to be part of one kingdom, so yeah, I would think that they're the same. But, Korea's for the longest time, because Korea is a homogenous society, but they're getting lots of immigrants from other places.
What is their integration?
I would think that integration would be very hard in Korea. It's so hard in Korea that they have public service announcements all the time. Korea is one ethnicity, unlike China or Vietnam or any of those. Korea and Japan are very, very similar in that there's really just one ethnicity.
That's what I found freaky about Japan when I was there.
So you want to talk about homogenous society. Korea is a homogenous society.
Right.
And the United States is not, and I don't like the fact that we're trying to go to a place where we're encouraging non-integration. And that could be a topic for another time, but keep going with...
Oh, yeah, but my point is like so people come here, they still have, in many instances, are kind of critical of America. And I'm like, if you're going to be critical of America and you kind of shit on it, then why are you here? Because
maybe because they can make more money here.
Yeah, but okay, so you can make more money here, but if you've got all these other issues that you have with America,
that's a pretty important issue, though.
The money.
Yeah, let's say in their home country they couldn't survive.
Right.
Let's say they were like me. They couldn't rub two dimes together. Because for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But they can come here and make money and be self-sufficient and support themselves and buy food. Then, okay.
Actually, I got into a Twitter war with a guy who's, I think, Irish, and he was shitting on America, and I'm like, why are you here then? Because his Twitter profile said he was in LA, and he was like, money, mate. I'm fucking here to make money, and he was like, I'm smarter and better and, than all the Americans I work with. So that's why I'm here. Then the
Irish must be a country of geniuses. Why don't they all leave and come here if they're all so smart?
But the reason this comes up is because of the fucking bank. Because whenever I go to the bank, there's like today this happened, and I had to sit there and stand in line for 10 minutes. I was like in the slot. I was like in the first slot to get in. I was just trying to deposit a check. Like two European guys in front of me, just completely oblivious of the fact that there was a long line of people. Weren't rushing stuff along at all. Just kept asking question after question after question. Had no fucking idea getting to the front of had obviously done no
research
or figured out how banking worked in America or anything like that. Just didn't give a shit. They did not give a shit. I consider it very impolite. And I feel like that's something I've observed between Europeans and Americans, that Americans are a lot more polite.
Well, yeah.
Than Europeans. So I'm like,
we're happier.
Why are Europeans so gauche in that context? That they would have just completely oblivious of the fact that people are waiting.
Because they live in the soul-crushing environment of collectivism.
Where what? Where you're supposed to just frickin'...
Where you're an ant. You are as significant as an ant in a hive. So the second some American customer service comes your way, you're just like, oh my God.
Dude, this guy,
I am loved.
This guy, like every time I thought that he was going to be done, he asked another question and asked another question and asked another question, and I'm sitting there going, shaking my head, just going, good Lord.
I think that's the bank's fault, though. Why didn't they open up another window?
Well, yeah, there is that, but...
Well, because, man, it takes too much trouble. You got to count all the money and put them in a drawer. I mean,
and
all
of
the
course
junk.
there's like 2 or 3 people sitting around with their thumbs up their butts who probably could have been opening up a window who weren't.
Well, no, but that's the thing. If they aren't prepared, right? If they don't have the count of the money in the drawer and all that stuff, then you can't open one up.
Right.
So, yes, I understand your sentiment about...
Probably most of the people behind me were probably like, why is this guy shaking his head and like being like impatient?
Well,
because Americans are also extremely patient in lines as well. That's the other thing I've noticed.
Well, also, we're not aristocrats like you. So, we're not used to having the special line where the kiss-ass crew comes in when Lord Fancy Pants walks into the door. It's like, I say... count my money.
Whatever, dude. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I find perplexing because I still don't get it. I'm still like, why are you here? If America is so abhorrent and if there's so much about it, because like Europeans, like in general, like they shit on America. They not, and this is not all Europeans, but a lot of them. It's not just Europeans. It's anyone from outside of America sit there and say, Americans are so gauche, Americans are impolite, they're loud, they're, unintelligent. Like all these stereotypes about Americans, and I'm like, I don't think a lot of those stereotypes are true.
Well, when your only experience with America is the stupid sorority girl from like the Bronx, or the most entitled.
But these people are here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but you're here in America, observing Americans and probably finding out that like it's actually a pretty competitive place. Right?
There's
shit's competitive here, and especially in a city. And so, do they just sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm just going to maintain my stereotypical view of America, even though everything that I'm seeing is like contrary to this view"?
Well, we don't know how long this hypothetical person has been observing, how
well, these are probably newcomers
again. So there's a whole lot of other questions that need to be asked and answered before you can start saying, before it can be confirmed that the dumbass is an actual dumbass. But
yeah, it's the rudeness thing. I mean, I've observed the same thing at the buffet at buffets, where it's like we went to a buffet years ago. It was Sizzler. So we go to Sizzler, and then it got descended on by the French tour group.
Okay.
I don't know if you were there or not.
I don't think so.
No, okay. So I was there with my uncle, but the French just had no idea of. They just were like descended on the food like vultures, and then basically were very, very unaware of anybody else trying to get to the food.
Well, that seems like a very French thing, though.
Why?
I don't know. I've never been to France.
Do you think it's like that in France?
I don't know. I've never been to France. Never thought about it.
Again, just complete obliviousness.
My life has so little to do with France and the French.
I'm like, you're here in a foreign country where there's other Americans here at this buffet, and you have no concept of being polite.
I'll tell you one thing.
You're on American turf. You're on these people's turf, and they're kind of like just humoring. Because they're so polite, they're just putting up with your gauche behavior. But, like, it just drives me crazy.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I really hate it when people compare Americans to the French.
People compare America to France? To the French?
American people to the French people in terms of, attitude and personality and stuff like that. I'm just sitting there going, I don't know. I think...
Who are these people?
Well, there have been a couple of people that really kind of compare certain folks, and like there was this one woman that
the French is
who was sitting there saying that Americans and the French are kind of similar, that they think that they're the best at everything, and I'm just like, well, for one of us, it's true.
Well, look, the French is so rude that it's famously in movies.
Well, you're right,
like Americans going to Paris and just being treated like it's in comedies. It was in like one of the Griswold movies.
Yeah, but that's because you don't know how to what's the word? How to deal with that.
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, the French are rude to Americans because Americans are coming out like, hey, do you speak English? Do you speak English? That's stupid people anywhere. When I went to Korea and people...
Do you think the people that travel are stupid?
Yes.
Okay.
Resoundingly so. Do you know how I know?
Because you observed it in Korea?
Well, when I went to Korea, people trying to sit there and be nice to me talked really slowly and loudly, and I was like, I'm not deaf.
Because New Zealanders tend to... New Zealanders have always talked about American tourists in a very derogatory light.
Probably because they're jealous. There's that aspect too, right? Someone can flash around them. They got so much disposable income they can go to a whole other country and act like an idiot.
Right.
My thing about the French, you diffuse that by going up to a Frenchman and say, "Can you speak Hungarian?" Or
no.
Do you speak Swahili? Or some language they don't speak, and then you say, "How about English?" And then they'll say yes because everybody had to. English became the lingua franca, which is kind of funny, right?
Lingua franca.
Yeah, because
it's not even French, is it?
Lingua franca. Well, French used to be the world language. Like all the aristocrats used to speak French. Even the Russian nobility and Russian aristocrats, they all spoke French.
Yeah, so weird.
Right. So French used to be the language of the world.
Mm-hmm. And then English.
Then English took over, and now you have these Germans speaking English with an American accent, and you're just sitting there going, I'm confused. But, so where were we before I interrupted?
It doesn't really matter.
But yeah,
it's just the rudeness thing, and also the crapping on America, but being here in America. Or crapping on America and saying how great Europe is, but then coming here and spending 2 months traveling through America.
That's like people from Chicago.
And then
people from the surrounding areas of Chicago.
And then and this is not just Europeans. I mean, I've observed it with my own country people as well. Countrymen. Just coming here and being amazed by how, oh my God, like this is really amazing. Like this is really delicious, or this food's really incredible, or wow, I had no idea that like this stuff was in America. And I'm like, and just being like astounded by that.
Yeah, I sent my parents on a European trip a little over a decade ago, and my mom hated it. She's like, the food sucks. All the countries are poor.
Well, my sister and my niece came here, and my niece went to the supermarket, to Ralph's, and all she wanted to do was go to the supermarket everywhere we went, because she was just like astounded by how much choice there was, the candy aisle, just you name it. Like we would go to a supermarket and just kind of wander around for like an hour or two.
That's kind of funny.
And that was like her. I mean, she loved Disneyland as well, but I think her favorite thing was the supermarket.
I don't know. I'd pick a supermarket over Disneyland any day.
Yeah. She would get lost in the aisle. She'd be like, "Oh, look at the size of this Red Vines container," and you could just like, and she was like, "You can buy like," she's like, "You can buy 2 pounds, like 4 pounds of cherries for like $8. Like, what is going on?" And
that's expensive.
No, it's really not.
Well,
like, comparatively,
it's expensive for here.
I hope her she's listening. She's not offended by me doing her accent. But yeah, she was just, she loves it. She loves America.
Yeah, I'm glad you probably didn't say that to her. It's like, sorry, love, but that's expensive for here. she'd have lost her mind. Because
my sister was very, very impressed too. Anyway, there you have it.
Yeah, America is a great country, and as long as Americans do what America has done well, I'm not saying America's perfect, but a lot of the things that people are trying to get America to do I think is backwards. It's going towards a European point of view, an Asian point of view, a point of view that is not American, and all it's going to do is make us worse. Now, what are those things? You're going to have to wait and see. Yes. if we ever say it. But yes, America is kind of going down the wrong road.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree.
And that's enough. Good night.